This recorded training video will teach you how to energy model and use the new updated Hancock Software Heat app. We have revamped the look and feel of the Heat app. This includes a new dashboard. Now the dashboard is broken up into sections: energy audit sections, general information, and modeling. Second, we have changed the data entry screens. Now you can enter heating, cooling, and distribution data easier. We've also included easier data entry for window and walls. Finally, we've added some enhanced energy modeling, which includes introducing some new icons. These icons are thermostat settings, hot water tank replacements, combustion safety, and appliance. Let's get started with the training. Displayed is the dashboard. The general information section has been created to be a summary of everything that has been entered in the back office. So you should expect most of this information has been pre-populated, but you do want to check it. Again, client info is where you can see and confirm the address. Energy consumption is where you can confirm the billing data. One swipe to the left or right can swipe through the different records. Let's start with building information and the changes here. As usual in building information, you want to define the house dimensions and the weather, state, and city. But we've enriched our TMY data, and now you will see a climate zone. You will be able to select from multiple climate zones. That takes care of the new section, general information. When I typically do audits, I then move to the envelope. The attic has not changed. Still within the attic section, you want to identify the unfloored or floored space and choose a measure. But what has changed is the wall and window relationship. Before, we used to make you enter two screens, the windows separately from the walls. Now we have integrated those screens and enable quick data capture. If you click the walls, you will see the existing wall sheet. You can tell from the dots below, I have defined 4 walls. Each have a height of 8 feet and a width of 48. This is a 1-story structure. If it was 2 stories, I could put that height at 16 feet. Now, I'm on the east wall, and I now have the ability to attach windows straight from the wall screen. So I'm going to press this window and door screen, and I am displayed with the option to create windows. Now, if your screen is blank, that means you haven't created any windows yet. To create a new window, you press Create Type. You can rename any type name. You would choose the type of window and the total quantity. Now the shortcut is this total quantity can be the number of total windows in the house. Let's say I have 4 small windows in the house, 2 on the east and 2 on the west. I'm going to put 4 here. These windows are 95% glass, and I'm going to save. Now when I go back to my wall entry here, I would choose this new row, and then I would be able to access that new window I created. So I could access the small window, and let's say the total quantity on the east wall is 2. And I save it. Now when I look at this east wall, I can see I've defined the east wall, and then I can now choose window and doors to see all of the windows and doors I've placed on that wall. Let's go back to the main wall screen and place that small window on the west wall. To find the west wall, you would create the west wall by pressing the plus button. Or if you've already created the wall, you can swipe and find the west wall. Here's the west wall. I'm going to choose window and doors. I'm going to place my finger on the new row and select the small window. I'm going to place the remaining 2 windows onto this wall and save. Once I press the save button in the top right, that window then places itself on the wall. So you can see when I go back to the wall, I do, because of the 4 dots at the bottom, have 4 walls. And I can see the placement of the windows and doors on the wall by clicking the Windows and Door button. So that shows how we have enhanced window and door data capture. What I showed is how I clicked the wall screen and I entered all of the walls, windows, and doors in one action. You can still use the old method of creating windows and doors first, and then going into wall and placing those windows and doors on the wall. Next, I would like to discuss basement and floor. The enhancement here is we have added the ability to energy model complex basements, meaning we use the soil conditions and the ground temperature involved in the calculations of the SIR. Since this entry of complex basements takes a little bit of work, I'm going to create a separate video that goes into detail. The next change to the energy model in the envelope section would be air infiltration. You can see you can enter a pre, a post, and a target CFM. At the time of the energy audit, you would leave the post test blank. When you click building ventilation, we will be in the future introducing to some states the Ashrae 62.2 updated calculator. After I've finished the envelope modeling, I want to show you the differences and enhancements in the mechanical systems and baseload. Starting with mechanical systems, we have new features within the heating and cooling section. When you first tap heating and cooling, you're introduced with a blank screen. The screen defaults to heating. It defaults to the utility. In this case, I have identified that the heating system is gas. You select the heating system type, and now you are driven with dynamic data entry pick lists based on the type you select. Usage ratio means the percentage of time that that heating system is used. For example, if I had a heat pump supplemented with oil heat, I may say the heat pump is used 40% of the time, the oil heat is used 60% of the time. We default the pre and post efficiencies, but you can edit this based on if you test the equipment. You press enter measure to choose a new measure. Now this is the existing heating system. The new feature we've introduced here is the ability to say that you are going to remove this existing heating system. If you are replacing a heating system, and this can account for replacing and changing fuel types or just replacing a new system, you would check the removed box here. The next thing I'd like to show you is after you remove it, how you choose the new system. To choose the new system, you would fill out this information, and this is where if you had the option to, and you were allowed to, you could even change fuel types. So you could go from, for example, oil to electric. Now when you choose the new system, if it is a new system, you press New System here. So let's say it is a new system, and you can press the New System box. Next, I would like to show you how to enter a cooling system. You press heating and cooling, And now when you press the plus button down here, you would change the heating selection to a cooling selection. This is how you would enter a room AC or a central AC system. So you choose cooling and you can see the selection of central AC versus room AC. And then you present it with dynamic drop-down lists. We've introduced the SEER within this. Again, identify if the system is the new system or the existing system. If it's the existing system and you're not replacing it, you leave these boxes blank. But if you are replacing the existing system, you would check this removed box. The last feature I'd like to show you is the new support for heat pumps. So if you add a new system here and the house has an existing heat pump, in heating and cooling, instead of choosing heating or cooling, you would choose the selection heating and cooling, and that would account for all existing heat pumps. You'll see the heat pump data collection and energy modeling has been enriched to include HSPF calculations, SEER calculations. So now the energy modeling behind heating and cooling is very rich in where you can change system types, you can replace systems and keep the same fuel type. The last thing we added so you can keep all of this data entry straight is a dashboard. The dashboard button will appear after you have two systems. So if you've entered a heating and cooling, you'll see the dashboard. In my dashboard, you'll see the heating system and the cooling system and any distribution system that uses the heating or cooling. After you enter the heating and cooling, you want to go to zonal distribution. This has been enhanced to include Ashrae 152.04 method or the routine BPI data entry. The example shows BPI data entry. We've added a new feature here if you wanted to do detailed CFM duct testing. Once you're finished with the data entry, whether it be Ashrae or BPI, you'll see the pre-efficiency will default. Then you have to identify what this distribution or duct system is being used by. In my case, it is being used to carry both the central AC and the gas heat, so I'm going to check both heating and cooling and press save. So far in this training, we've reviewed the general information section, which is information that comes from the office and streams into the app. We have reviewed that under the building information, we have a new climate zone section here where you can account for very specific weather data. Then we jumped down to the envelope. Within the energy model, we start with identifying the attic section, then the walls. For a one-story structure, I would usually have 4 entries. For a 2-story structure, I could still have 4 entries and double the ceiling height. Or, if it's easier, you could make 8 wall entries. We introduced the ability to attach windows and doors to walls here. And then through the training, we discussed the basement section and the air infiltration pretest and target CFM. Then we move to the new heating and cooling dashboard. If you press zonal distribution, you'll see now the new feature, in addition to the BPI data entry, is the Ashrae 152.04. Plus, you'll see the ability to do detailed CFM testing. And then you'll see the ability to tag a duct system or a ductless system to the heating or cooling system that you defined. If you ever get confused within the heating and cooling, you can always touch the heating and cooling icon, press dashboard, and see all of your data entry. In this glimpse, I see I have one heating system, one central AC, and both of those systems, by saying yes here, use the distribution ductwork. The second icon we added was the thermostat. This is new to heat. This lets you define thermostat settings, and if you define a setting, it will override our default settings. So you always have the option to leave this screen blank, and heat will default thermostat settings for you. If you do know the homeowner settings, or if they have seasonal settings, then you can go into this screen. You could enter a zone first, name the zone, enter the square feet that the zone affects, press the save button, then go back and enter the thermostat settings for that zone. You can even enter the seasonal away time. It's not common that houses will have specific thermostat settings, so again, you can always feel free to leave this blank and know that our energy modeling engine will use default thermostat settings. Let's go into the hot water tank before we move into base load. The hot water tank, what hasn't changed is the domestic hot water measure install. This is now a place to enter quick direct install measures. For example, adjusting the hot water temperature, installing a tank wrap, replacing an aerator, shower head, etc. What we've added though is a new icon called hot water tank. The hot water tank is for our energy model to account for hot water tank replacements adequately. This includes identifying the existing system and the pre-efficiency factor, the pipe length, the usage ratio, and our system usage ratio means if this is your only source for hot water, then the usage ratio would be 100%. The hot water tank setting, and the size. We have added a calculation here, the water inlet temperature, pre-usage and post-usage. You can choose replacement measures down here now. So if you wanted to replace your hot water tank, you would click this button and you would be able to choose the hot water tank replacement. Now that we have accounted for all of the mechanical systems, I would like to move into base load. The refrigerator screen has not changed. The refrigerator screen is still the place where you identify the existing refrigerator. You can choose whether to meter the refrigerator or to click annual usage and just enter the usage that you know. Within lighting, we've enhanced the data entry fields within lighting, so you'll be able to choose the location type if you would like to. You can always choose other or whole house lighting, whatever generic option you have. You can type in particularly to the location if you really needed to tell your installers where to install the lighting. We have a new fixture here where you can choose the existing fixture. So overhead lighting or maybe an incandescent 50-watt lamp. All of this information defaults, but you can override it. So if you want to override the wattage, the quantity, or the hours, you can do so right here. And then you enter measure to add replacement measures to it. We have a new screen, Appliance. This lets you account for like the dryer usage, the dishwasher usage, computers if you want. So it lets you account for more of an electrical load. Here you can see a drop down of all the available selections we have. We have the microwave oven, like I said, the dryer, a whole house fan, many different sections in this. Let's select the clothes dryer. When you select the clothes dryer, you'll see that you then have the ability to enter wattage, or it can pre-populate, so you can enter the wattage here of the clothes dryer, and then you save it. Really, this enhancement helps us in the energy modeling tool account for all appliances within the house. The next new icon would be the combustion safety screen. The combustion safety screen is where you can account and record a worst best case depressurization test. So you can enter the worst case depressurization. You can enter the spillage. You can enter the carbon monoxide readings. This doesn't contribute to energy savings. However, it is a place to record gas combustion appliances and the testing of those appliances. What hasn't changed is the ability to enter the combustion test equipment for heating equipment, or the ability to record CO tests. All health and safety measures are still recorded in the other measure section. So that's a summary of the new redesigned Heat app. The main value of redesigning the app is enhanced and very up-to-date energy modeling calculations. So if we go down to energy savings here, you'll see a similar look and feel. You'll see the SIR, the heating and cooling loads, and the measure-by-measure savings. You'll always, as an energy auditor, want to go down and check what we have modeled, what you have modeled the pre-usage and post-usage to be. So here you can see the post usage versus pre-usage in fuel type. And you might want to check these against the real bill. So you might want to say you have modeled 160 CCF or therms and say, is that about on par with what the house is using today? And then you can adjust the model or go through and see what you missed. In another video, I'll be going into more detail about these new updated icons and how to do reporting within the Heat app and how to do homeowner education. So to review, what we went over today is we went over the new look and feel of the Heat dashboard. This includes a general information section, an envelope section, and the mechanical system and baseload section. Then we dove in deeper. We discussed first how we have made the wall and window data entry easier. So you can now define walls and attach windows and doors. We briefly discussed the new complex basement calculations that are optional depending on what version your state has. We discussed the air infiltration. We discussed enhanced Ashrae calculator is coming soon. Then we moved to heating and cooling. In the heating and cooling, you can now you can change fuel types, you can designate replacements, you get a whole dashboard view of the heating and cooling and the zonal duct distribution situation. We've added a thermostat icon. Lighting has some enhanced fields so you can specifically tell the installer where to install the lights. Appliance is a new screen to account for electrical load. Hot water tank is a new screen to account for particular factors that reflect when you replace a hot water tank. Combustion safety is another new screen. The combustion safety screen, again, is where we want to record worst, best case depressurization testing. Thank you for listening for this training, and I hope it was valuable.